Since 1992, Gen.esis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Gen.esis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Gen.esis House alumni. Call Gen.esis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Welcome, everybody, to the Friends in Recovery podcast. I'm your host, Jersey Ed, along with two of my co-hosts, my both co-hosts, Noontime with Sky and Tiff. Welcome, ladies. How's everything this week?
Good.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. It was like, yeah, I really don't want to be doing this. It's step
living
4.
Living the dream.
Right? I've been running from this step for a minute, right?
I know. I'll get back to that in a second. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank Gen.esis House for their ongoing support of this podcast. And of course, without them, we couldn't do this today. So guys, I say this every week, and I know the ladies agree with me. If you're struggling or if there's a problem, stop the podcast now, go back to that commercial and listen to Gen.esis House. Listen to what we do there. Listen to how we can help you. Give that 800 phone number a call and really help yourself. We all did it. We didn't call. Skylar did. She was the only one that called that 800 number, not us. But we all made a phone call to get that help. We all did something to make sure that we can, further our careers. And that's why we're sitting here on the podcast today, because we're taking stock in our recovery because we call the phone number. So we would like you guys to really, kind of get that, give Gen.esis House a call, and it made a difference in your life, right, Sky?
Yeah, 100%. That's the foundation of my recovery is those gates.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the remarks that I've been getting from the field, working out in, our industry, is how Gen.esis House's quick response time on getting somebody into recovery, because they say that sometimes, people are waiting 2-3 weeks before they even get a return phone call, and we respond right away. So
yes, we do.
Good shout out for Gen.esis House there. So if you need help and you're struggling for real, it happens right away.
Yes. And if you don't want to reach out to Gen.esis House, you want to just talk to one of us, you can email us at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. And we'll be sure to get back to you and make sure that we get a hold of you. Also, you can comment below. Don't forget to comment below too. If you want help, just we'll reach out to you. If you're struggling, we can go that way too. But this week's show, guys, is step 4, right? Step 4. Oh,
I love it.
I know I never did so much studying in my life, and I'm like a little shaky now, but stay tuned for some amazing recovery. I'm going to go over the literature right now, what we're going to use. I think that's important because all of us do study a lot, all these steps. We did make this commitment to do the 12 steps of recovery each month, every year. So it's April now. So we're on step 4. And we do take time to do this. I sent Skylar and Tiffany a picture last night of all my books that I was studying, and I'm like, it's a little bit more than just going through the steps with your sponsor. It's a lot. So we want to let you guys know what we're studying from, number one, and also what we're reading from. But I also want to let you know we just don't open up these books and read something from here. This is a well thought out show. It's work basically for us now.
People are watching.
I know they are. They are. So
Good
today,
work, good
guys,
work.
I'm going to be using the 12 and 12, the life recovery book, um, the daily reflections, and just one page of the big book. Sky is we're going to be using. She's our NA girl. Sky's going to be using the how and why, the workbook, the NA workbook, the basic text, and the IP. Did you get the number for the IP, Sky?
Oh no, I didn't.
That's okay. And then Tiff is going to be using the big book, the 12 and 12, and the 12-step guide workbook. So while we're going through all our other stuff, I know we have some silver shout outs. Go grab your literature or just follow along with us. And I know Skylar has like 1,000 shout outs today. So a lot of good stuff happening in April. So
Yeah.
what do you got, Sky?
So it's IP 10. The IP
IP
number
10.
is 10 for the working step 4. And then sober shout outs. I said them. I'll say them again. So Tristan has 6 years. He works with us at Gen.esis House. Arlene as well, 27 years.
Woohoo!
Arlene, Tristan.
We got Carlo. Why can't F? What is that's our last initial, right?
Who?
Can't think of
F, yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. It has 2 years. John L, 3 years.
Johnny.
Woohoo!
Wendy
L.
is 9 months.
All right.
Tyler P, 1 year. Tyler K,
Nice.
1 year.
Tyler K.
Nice.
I like
Two
that. Tyler,
cakes.
I like that Tyler K. I think I'd let him marry my daughter, maybe.
And I may have forgot some, so if I did, just write it in the chat, please, because I always love giving the shout outs and putting pictures of you guys up and stuff. Like I love doing that. If I don't do it, just let me know, and I would love to do it for you.
Absolutely. And Tiff, you have any shout outs? I think you said no, right?
No, not this week. Not this
Okay.
week. Nothing I'm adding, throwing out there.
Okay. All right. I got a weird shout out. We were, and I don't know if this is a marketing thing. I was told it is. I don't know if it isn't, but we were ranked number 27 out of 60 best addictions podcast on FeedSpot. So just giving them a shout out. We're number 27. Check it out on FeedSpot. We're number 27. Again, I don't know if it's a marketing thing that they want us to join it, but somebody's listening somewhere and something's going on. So they're liking what we're doing. So that's my shout out today. If you want us to give you a sober shout out, make sure you email us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com, and we'll be sure to get your sober shout outs on the air. It doesn't have to be the month of August. If you want a sober shout out, if you want to just us to kind of mention your sobriety, we would love to do that. So help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. Tiff, what do you have about some of those great meetings that are going on out in
I do have
Friends in
some great
Recovery
meetings.
land?
Yes. All right. In Recovery Land, we host Friends in Recovery hosts 2 meetings a day at 12 noon. This is Eastern Standard Time, and 7 p.m. And on top of that, we also have additional meetings. So we host 2 meetings a day, but we're almost up to 3 meetings a day if you include all of our specialty meetings, like the loved ones group on Mondays, the alumni and friends. We have meditation meeting, Beyond the Badge, Recovery 911, Recovery Yoga. We do adventure planning and all sorts of meetings. But if you want to find our meetings, the 7 p.m. meetings are listed on aa-intergroup.org website. You can just search Friends in Recovery, or you can go to genesishouse.net under connections until we have our own site up and running. And then we also have a few new meetings. Fridays, our 7 p.m. meeting is now a Celebrate Friends in Recovery. It's a more religious-based meeting.
That's an amazing meeting, man.
Yeah, it's hosted by Rob. It's a really great meeting. And then we have a new meeting on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
No, 8 a.m. 8 a.m.
Oh, 8 a.m. 7 a.m. my time, Central Time at 7 a.m. Anyway, and that's hosted by either Ed or myself. We're sort of piggybacking on that. And we have a coin challenge I want to mention. So attend any 30 Friends in Recovery meetings, and you will earn the highly sought after Friends in Recovery,
the upside down one,
Zooming Through Recovery
there
coin. Anyway, it's a really nice coin. It's a great way to get it's actually really a medallion. It's more than just a coin. So go to any 30 Friends in Recovery meetings. As soon as you hit your 30, send us a message at help@Friends in Recovery podcast, or let us know on the meetings. Any of the hosts can help get your coin out to you. So that's what I have for meetings. Back to the newsroom, Ed.
And that is the highly sought after coin, man. There's a couple people on there that are burning those right through those meetings to get that coin. And hey, listen, whatever works, it works. And you might come for the coin, but you'll stay for the recovery. So
we might have to do like a second generation coin.
we could.
Yeah.
If Stacy's listening,
post-pandemic, so like they can have their masks off.
Yeah, post-pandemic. And like you have to hit like
or maybe the mask just hanging down, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't know if we have to fucking put it back on or off. Who the fuck knows anymore, right?
With a fucking transformer in the background, the Decepticon.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, anyways, we can talk about that. And Sky has some information on our social media, which is amazing out there. You guys are doing a great job on our social media. So
yeah, so you check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Podbean. I was gonna say Sober Pod. Tried to throw you in there, Carl.
Sober Pod.
Telegram. Also, Telegram. It's an app service that we have like a long chain of text going on a daily basis too, and all times of day. So if you guys are struggling, you could write, I'm struggling. Usually someone in the group can give you a call, and then we also have ways you can get in service and let us know. It doesn't matter if you have 1 day or 1,000 days, we can get you in service. And then we also have sponsorship. Like we want you guys to sign up. If you guys have been through your step work and you want to offer your service to be a temporary sponsor, or just a phone number someone will call, let us know, because we have a form we want you to fill out, so that way someone struggling can reach out to you. So we don't want to be sponsorless around here, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's so important. And that Telegram app is really good too. And some of the things, and the website is also coming up soon, guys. I know I get on here every week and I talk about the website, but it is coming along. It's going to be a really good website. And one of the things I think that we were talking about, we want to have like a sponsor finder or something on there. Somehow we're going to do something along those lines. There's going to be a lot of good creative stuff on that website to enhance our recoveries, besides this wonderful podcast that we do, that we were ranked number 27 on. I don't know what that means.
Number 27.
27 freaks me out, because that number, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's the 8. There's a lot. Janis Joplin. A lot of them are 27.
Yep.
Anyway, side note.
Maybe everybody's number 27. They send this marketing thing out to everybody. And
Exactly. They're like, what fools, man. They mentioned our name on air, and now it's going to be out there forever, and people are going to subscribe to us. And anyways, that's okay. No big deal. So I do want to, before we I give the question of the week out, I want to just mention SoberPod. And because Skylar had a slip there before, but before I forget, I know we haven't been really talking about SoberPod. We just been getting really busy here. So Carl and Chelsea, you guys are doing a great job over there. Thank you for everything you do, guys. If you're listening to this, hopefully the 3 people that are listening, you will tune over to SoberPod. One
not
out of
while
3
we're live, though.
No, not while we're live. No, you guys who are live, stay. Anybody who's not, go and when you're ready. So, but they do a good job over there, and we kind of ripped them off a little bit. I'm going to be honest, right? They did the 12 steps a couple years ago every month. I kind of got that idea from them, but let's be serious. SoberPod wasn't the originators of this. I'm sure we can find another fucking podcast somewhere that did the same shit.
Is copied.
The whole industry follows the standard.
That's right. Exactly.
Everything that's written.
Yeah. So they ain't original. Neither are we, but we're getting some really good information out. So
my SO joined the group now too.
Nice.
There you go. You're killing me, Skylar. You're killing me. Well, before we share in step 4, and before I get cold feet, all right, because I might just bail out before step 4 begins, like I say every week, Tiff's supposed to say, "Oh no, you're going to do fine." Yeah, there you go.
Step 4 is if we have so many things, if we have a step to talk about, it's this one,
Right.
one, and how to not be afraid of it.
I know. Well, before that, we have a question of the week. The reason why we do a question of the week is because we want you to get to know us, because you guys know us through our sobriety, you know us through goofing around on here, but we also have human lives. We're humans too. We have kids, we have families and all that. So I always ask a question of the week, and just pertain to anything. I just pick one out of there and pertain to anything. This one actually somewhat pertains to step 4 this week, which I didn't realize it until we said, we're working on step 4. But the question of the week is, and you guys can answer if you want to comment below. Please feel free to, or send us an email. Did you ever hide anything or lie to your parents? Did you ever hide anything or lie to your parents? That's definitely part of step 4. Definitely, no doubt about it, because that's when shit started for me when I was younger. But Sky, I see you thinking over there. What's your answer to the question?
I'm trying to think of more than just the typical, like I hid my addiction. I'm trying to think of something deeper that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that. No.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think if there was something I ever hid from my mom that, like, I was super embarrassed about, or something. I was trying to think of something nice and juicy to pull up out here, but I couldn't really. That's why I was kind of like, But I mean, there's like things I hid, just like I don't know, just like stealing from her was part of it too. I mean, I think that was the hardest part is like realizing I stole from her, because like I knew she gave me everything, you know what I mean? Like my mom was always there. But I just didn't see it then. Like it's just weird how you see it now. That's why it's hard to even think about it, because it's all to me is like a step 4. Like I don't want to think any of that. Put it all on here, let's get rid of it. Exactly.
So Tiff, what about you?
It's interesting looking back at it too, because I was able through step 4 to pinpoint kind of when that lying behavior started, or when stealing, things like that. And so, but when it actually came to a doozy with my parents, I was wild. I wasn't really raised like a normal kid. But anyway, my parents left for a weekend. And I know this is kind of normal that people, parents leave for a weekend and you throw a party. And I had all these upperclassmen come and have party, all these athletes, all sorts of things, right? And we decided, my friend and I, to buy all these disposable cameras. Remember the disposable camera back in the 90s, right? What a great idea that was. And so there was something like, we had, people wearing wigs and boys sleeping with boys with pictures and baseball bats and just all these weird, like crazy scenes, like that we had Halloween costumes and
stuff.
Just wasted, by the way. Everybody was just tanked. I think the cops were called at that party, and we had people on the roof of our house, all sorts of different things, but there was pictures of everything. Well, the house, of course, was immaculate when my parents got home, and they knew that I had had a party, especially because someone told them, and I lied about it. I was like, absolutely not. Up and down the river. They actually gave me like 10 chances to tell the truth. And I was like, no, absolutely not. Right. And anyway, they found, I had these pictures. I had a waterbed. And I had the pictures stuffed in the waterbed. And my brother came down and snuck into my room. My brother's 8 years younger than me. This little peckerhead. He was such a asshole, trying to get me in trouble all the time. He went running upstairs with these pictures. And you know how you can just, that sixth sense of like, I heard him pitter patter running through the top, and it was late at night. And then, oh man, hell broke loose. I was like grounded forever. And I thought I was going to die. I really did think I was going to be killed that night. But yeah, that was one of the big ones. But it was just more recognizing the pattern of where those truths and where I was given opportunities to tell the truth. It was a sincere opportunity. I believed from my parents to tell the truth, and my
Mm.
gut instinct was still to lie.
Mm.
Still to lie. It wasn't, just doing the behavior of, drinking and drugging while your parents were out of town. It was just recognizing the behavior like Sky was talking about.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah. Yeah.
I was given the opportunity to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And I naturally started doing those things after that,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
saying, lying just about being 10 miles difference where you're
Mhm.
driving on the road. Like, who the fuck cares?
I know.
Why is your
I know.
natural instinct to lie? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a big one.
It is a natural instinct I know for me, hands down, and the people who I see around me, like in recovery anyways, I had some of the normal people that might be listening. If they're listening, they're like, well, how can you lie like that? But you know what? We had a lie, we had a lie in our addiction, and my what I hid from my parents or lied about. I was in 6th grade and I had to wear glasses, right? And I did not want to wear glasses. I was this geeky little kid anyways in 6th grade. I went to Catholic school, so I had my blue shirt on and my geeky little clip-on tie, right? The fucking tie that clips on. And, my shoes, I always wanted shoes with like high heels, like high-heeled shoes, like Elvis Presley, right? I went to school back in the 70s, so I wanted those shoes. So I always had those walking around. I look at pictures now. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I was a mess. No wonder why I drank and drug. Look at you. You know what I mean? So no, anyways, but so I had to put these glasses on, right? And I didn't want to put them on. So I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house. My grandfather was a plumber. His garage is filled with everything, with tools and plumbing supplies and everything. So I remember I used to keep them in a nice little case, nice and neat and everything. And I'm like, I'm not wearing these things anymore. I'm not wearing them anymore. So I hid them in the plumbing supplies of my grandfather's of his garage, right? And my mom's like, "Where's your glass?" I'm like, "I don't know. I have no idea." Thinking like, I lost them. So it had to be like a year or two later. I remember my grandfather cleaning some of the garbage out. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna find them. He's gonna find them. And sure as shit, man, he's like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." And he threw them out. Like, thank God. Like, it was a couple years later, but that's when it started, all that lying. I can pinpoint that lying in 6th grade where I knew, when we were kids, did you poop your pants? No, but, but
why does poop always end up coming up?
Poop comes out. And this is a poop show, guys. But that was the first time I can really look back. And when I seen this question, that drove me right to that moment. That drove me right to 6th grade. That drove me right to the glasses and asking my mom, asking me where it was all. And then actually the next year, about that year or a little bit late, not too much further than that, I started drinking and getting.
Do you guys have lies that you like had negative contracts with people though? Like, because you guys were just talking and I was thinking about. I set my grandmom's basement on fire and then she lied for me and didn't tell my mom with me. Like, do you guys? Like people that kind of got along with
you? Yeah. My first ex-wife. He doesn't drink that much.
Yeah. Right.
I don't drink that much. I'm good. I'm just guzzling it down as she's saying it. Pocket full of cocaine. I don't drink that much. Yeah, absolutely. The enablers.
Graham saved my ass that time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Real quick in the chat, we got Chris said that he hid his tattoos for years. I did that too, Chris. I remember doing that. I used to wear long sleeves in front of my grandparents, not from my mom, but in front of my grandparents. So Chris hid his tattoos. Joe S. lied and stole and robbed and isolated from his parents and his family. That's
yes.
Just stealing time from our families and our addiction, kind of hits home too. So, thanks for those comments, guys. So, all right, guys, here it is.
Step 4.
Oh, we're not ending the show. I thought we were going to end the show.
No.
All right. Step 4. You're right, Tiff. Step 4. So let's begin. The craziness here. Step 4.
How I'm always in collision with myself, right?
Yes, exactly.
Even my motives are well.
I was running the other day and I sent Tiffany and Skylar a picture after I got done running. I cut my foot running somehow. There was blood all over my foot. And I sent them a picture. I'm like, running from step 4. And Skylar's like, yeah, I do that. That's what happens when you run from step 4. You cut your foot. So Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So, guys, to me, this searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves turns, again, this is my opinion, this is how I look at, turns a victim into a victor. After you get done with this step, when you start writing all this information down, when you really process things, you don't have to play that victim role anymore, right? You get to
Right.
be the victor. You get to look at things like, yeah, I did that, but I'm okay with it. I don't have to, I don't live by that anymore. I'm not that person anymore. It's still in my past. It's still there, but I don't have to do that anymore. I can move on to bigger and better things. I can be helpful today instead of hurtful, and the other thing, you're only as sick as your secrets. That's another thing that comes up to me. I have all this stuff written down. You're only sick as your secrets, and my sponsor said, Eddie, my step 4 was, I haven't done a step 4 in probably 15 years. Right. I thought you did one and you're done. And that's not it, guys.
No.
You have to keep cleaning house. Of course, I always work my step 10. When I'm wrong, I do all that stuff. But there's stuff that builds up. There's some go-to shit that I still go to, that I can kind of, go check that box off and not think anybody thinks anything of it. And they may not, but morally, and just spiritually, it kills me. So that's why these steps have to be done over and over and over again. And if you have a good sponsor, they'll take you through them as many times as you want. Some people go through them monthly. I was told, I read something that the steps at the beginning, right, of AA, they were meant to be went through within a month or two. Not dragging out, like within a month or two. So can you imagine like day 3 or day 8 working your fucking 4th step? Right?
Well, that's what Bill did.
I know.
He was working it in the hospital already before he even left.
That's true. Yeah.
It's meant to get rid of and fix all of those hurts that you're hanging on to, and those resentments, that all those things that could possibly drive us to drink or use drugs. And why do we want to live and hold on to those old painful things in our life and our hurts? And the biggest part for step 4 with me wasn't so much because I had some huge resentments once I start. Did you know? Oh, I should stop. Did you know you can only visualize one resentment at a time in your head? And that's why they had the people write it down on paper. Because then you can do multiple resentments. You start a list and you keep going and going and going, but your brain can really only process one at a time. Yes. So that's why they have you write the list, and it starts continuing on. My biggest part of the resentment list was the resentments I was holding against myself.
Yes.
That I wasn't forgiving myself for.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I thought I could take to the grave, and I couldn't.
No. And that's the ones that we have to get down, that I have to get down immediately, because that's the searching, fearless part of it. So to me anyways, if I can get those things out about me first, then that's the fearless part of it. And that's when I can go even deeper into the others and what other resentments I had and whatever else was going on in my life. But it is a fearless inventory, right? And again, it says, about step 4, if you can't do a fearless moral inventory of yourself, you need to go back to step 3. How many times have you heard that? Right. Sure. Because you're not turning your life over to God. You're not turning. Right. You have to be prepared to do this step 4. That's why step 3 is before step 4, because it's preparing us for something that's going to be tough. That's going to be, but here's the other thing, guys. Once you get into it and you start writing it down and you start, kind of processing it and you get it out, it's done and it's over with. That's the important part. The point is not to make it so difficult. It's a few words in each section of your inventory. Yeah. I did have a sponsor once when I got into like a real big resentment, those really deep-seated resentments that when you're writing those down, she gave me a limit of 19 words or less when I was writing down what had happened, just to get it out. But she was like 19 words or less. And I even think that is a lot. So
But those deep-seated resentments, there's different areas to work on those too, because some of us have some real deep wounds and hurts that we need to let go of. And the point is that we're not necessarily forgiving people for their behavior or saying their behavior is right. It's so that we can stop drinking at it, stop using
Holding on
at
to
it.
it.
Yeah. And let it go, and so that we can move on and process our things and form new relationships.
Sometimes
in a
that's your
healthy
part.
way.
Sometimes that's your biggest part in a situation is just that you're holding on to it.
Yeah.
You know, like
And
those
I was-
helpless moments where someone was raped or there was abuse, like that could be your part right there. Cause you know, you're not really doing anything in that situation where it's your part, but holding on to it's your part, you know?
Yeah. Those, especially those where you think it's a justifiable
Oh, yeah.
resentment.
Yeah.
I can
And-
justify my whole step 4. What do you mean?
Absolutely.
I can rationalize, justify, and minimize this entire step.
Oh, yeah.
These all make sense because this is why I did it here. I did, you know what I mean? Like I can
Sure.
make it all make
Oh, yeah.
sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You well,
It's stay
listen.
unhealthy.
Well, that's why step 5 comes afterwards.
Exactly. But I
So we
think
don't-
that
we
you're
don't
right about the
rationalize
step
and
3.
justify.
It's so huge because we can't like make ourselves be humble. Like we can't, like that's why we need his help. And we need him
Right.
to aid us in that service to be humble in the step because this is hard stuff here.
Oh, yeah.
And to help us through that 4th column where we can really acknowledge what our role was in
Yeah.
each of these events, because this is our first real feelings step where we get into our emotions and
Mhm.
we don't have those drugs or alcohol to help us guide us through these feelings. This is why we a lot of times used drugs and alcohol, but we have to stop blaming each of these events, people, places, or things for the reasons that we drink. We are taking ownership in our own behavior.
To look at them as they really are too. Because
Yes.
honestly, there's so many situations I made a whole narrative of that's not even what happened. Or if you talk to my brothers about a childhood memory, I bet you they remember it differently. Right? Because they might not
Absolutely.
be the reality of what happens. Like our minds can make some of that up.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we need a sponsor. We can't spot self-deception. Like that's
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
You know, I was reading in a book and you made a great point, Sky, that think about even people like, you know, oh my God, he or she's more successful than me. Or you know, or somebody might be up at top of the ladder or higher than us, but they struggled just like us. You know what I mean? They
Exactly.
did the
We're
same
all the
thing.
same.
You don't think they had the same thoughts as us? They hurt people too along the way. You know, so but what it is here is we have to take care of ourselves, right? We have to take care of ourselves.
Mhm.
We have to make sure that we do what we have to do to move on to get to that next level where these people are. And I'm not talking monetary wise, I'm talking, you know, spiritual wise. You know, you ever see somebody that's a complete and total mess, but when you talk to them, they're like this spiritual being. Like, well, you don't fucking look like the way you're fucking, you know, the way you talk. You don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't come across because they're working a program and they're doing, you know, they're really digging into what they need to do. And this is the like Tiffany said. I know I said that step 3 is the first action step. I believe it is, but step 4 is where you put pen to paper. Step 4 is really where now you have to take the first 3 steps, all those 3 steps, and then put it into the 4th step and do what you need to do fearlessly, you know, not fearfully. If you go through this step fearfully, it's not going to work. Because you're gonna leave stuff out, you're gonna forget stuff, you're gonna you know, there's stuff in there that you don't even want to remember also, you know, and that's the other thing too. You have to be ready to put that stuff on the piece of paper that you're even afraid to put down, you know.
So some people, and a lot, I would like to like get this kind of elephant out of the room. People say, well, when is a good time to do my 4th step? When do I start my 4th step? And when you ask that question, you hear all sorts of answers, all sorts. I was listening to one thing and they said that an actual psychiatrist got on and said, you shouldn't start your 4th step until you're 2 years sober. 2 years. Can you imagine? And
I
like
wouldn't have
you
stayed
said,
clean if I didn't do my steps my first year.
What?
I wouldn't have stayed clean if I didn't do my steps my first year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
really
Either.
believe that the steps saved my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if I didn't get it all out, I got a lot of it out.
Oh, yeah.
And it got me to the next year. Honestly, I truly believe that.
I truly believe that too. And I had to work these steps like my life depended on it because
I was more fearless my first 4th step than I would be today. I'm working a 4th step as we speak. And I don't feel as fearless as I was when I started because my humility,
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like I was at a different place, way more fearless, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I noticed that right now I have that like nagging sense of like that something's not right. I just feel like this weird stuff. If you feel that, that's like what step 4 is for. Because like
Mhm.
all week I've been feeling this nagging, like funky feeling because I'm writing on my 4th step. And like I don't know what it is, but that's why I need my step 3 to have the faith and trust to get through
Yes.
this.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
And when you
yeah.
work through it, you get to figure out and pinpoint, like we said, where our behaviors began before. Now it's our living behaviors. What's
Yes.
happening right now? Where am I in self, or what's happening? I need to change my behavior and turn it into an asset. That's the whole point of doing step
Yes.
4,
Yes.
is turning our these things into assets, because
Mhm.
we, like you said, Sky, you can feel a difference in your whole being that something's not right. Something's
Yep.
not right. And
Yeah.
And then
the
you
fourth-
feel it when you get rid of it too. That same feeling of like nagginess, it's a light feeling. Like, you know,
Yes.
this is a really feel step, if you get what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
but
Yeah.
but like a weight lifted, not like the 3rd step, a spiritual feeling. This step for me was like lighter.
Breathe. You can breathe.
Yes.
Yes,
I could breathe.
exactly. Air.
Yeah,
I didn't
exactly.
feel that elephant on my chest anymore. Even
Yes.
the tension in my shoulders and neck was like almost eliminated.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
It really
just
was.
my whole body released.
You get, my sponsor always tells me, again, you're sick as your secrets. And also you carry all that stuff in your body. My back used to always hurt. My neck always hurt. This always hurt. That always hurt. And once you release all this stuff, I don't have back. I mean, I do have back pains, but it's a different back pain now. It's not that same back pain. Chelsea from SoberPod just checked in, guys. And she said she did her 4th step when she was desperate enough to get better. I mean,
That's why I was so
Yes.
fearless my first
Yeah,
time, because I just felt
exactly.
so much pain. I'm like,
Exactly.
fuck this.
yeah.
I'm doing
Thanks,
whatever it
Chelsea.
takes.
That is
And
so
And the
it's
book
funny,
says
Rob-
if we were to actually follow the instructions in the book as they're written, that's why I'm glad I had a sponsor that really followed the book.
Yes.
It says that we put our head down after a 3rd step and go to it right away.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
And
We have
get
the
right
foundation
into it.
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, and even in the 12 of 12 and also in the life recovery book, it talks about, it says, what's an inventory? When a business takes inventory, it takes stock in what supply and merchandise are there. Making an inventory shows us what is necessary, what is surplus, and what is useless, and what is a liability. That's a business. Now, do you think a
Yeah,
business
that's what I
would-
think about.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to look as a business. So here's the thing. If I opened a business up, I don't know, a foods or whatever it is, should I wait 5 years to take inventory? No, because I'd be out of fucking business. Right.
Or all your stuff would be rotted or going bad or
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Like,
what
get it
needs
out.
to go on sale, who's not
Yeah.
buying stuff, all
Exactly,
these things
yeah.
that need to be, you need
it
to
gives us
clean
insight
house.
to
You need
ourselves.
to clean house. That is it, Tiff.
Yeah.
Clean house. That is what we do here. When we do step 4, we're cleaning house. We get ready to take that breath of air to move on to kind of go to the next step, to the 5th step, and even clear your head and clean everything else out to get on to the 6th step,
And
but
people who are dragging their feet usually are making the step too complicated. We're just literally making a list, 3 columns to start with. We start with 3 columns, just the way it looks in the book. The book is a little confusing on page 65, but if you were to draw a line in between each of those columns, I think it would make the visual.
can you
be
go
a
over
lot
those columns
easier.
for us, Tiff? Can you go over that
Sure.
with us?
So the first section on page 65, the first column, you're going to write down all the people that are resentful at, all the places, all of the, people, institutions, and principles is what it says.
What's
So
an example? Like
of people.
not people, but give me an institution and a principle.
Okay, so like an institution would be like a hospital or the police station,
Okay,
or
great.
The
a
cops
department.
fucked me over.
Perfect.
They arrested me.
A department, things like that, the government.
And what about a principle?
Whatever you think, it could be the army, the Marines. It could be whatever you think that you're holding some sort of resentment at.
Mhm.
And then principles are those, well, I don't know how to describe it, but
I have a resentment against my grammar school principal. Does that count?
I think it means
I'll
another
be here
kind
all
of
week,
principle,
guys.
but-
Ba-dum-bum. Entertainment that's best at Friends in Recovery. Get it, sorry.
But anyway, so it could be my work, or
Exactly.
relationship.
I asked because I didn't know what that stuff meant in the beginning. I'm like, what
Yes,
does it
I didn't
mean?
know
Like,
either. I didn't know
you know?
either. And so that's very helpful to go through those. And and then you, on the second column, so you write down the name of the person. So if I'm, like it says in the book, on page 65, I'm resentful at Mr. Brown, I'm resentful at Mrs. Jones, my employer, and my wife, is what Bill has written down, or the book has the example. I shouldn't just give Bill all the credit. And then in the next column, next to Mr. Brown's name, what's the cause of my resentment? What happened? His attention to my wife. He told my wife about my mistress, and Brown may get my job at the office. So those are 3 reasons that he's resentful at Mr. Brown.
God damn,
and then
Brown.
The third column is what it affects. It affects my what? Does it affect my sex relations, my self-esteem, my security? Does it affect whatever, my pride, all of those things? And it's all listed in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And you go through those columns. And when you're finished, that's when you go back and follow the instructions and you review. Then you start your 4th column. You don't start that 4th column until you're finished with all 3 of your first columns. And then you go back and make a review. And you're going to do that review several times, actually, all the way through your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th step. You're going to be reviewing those same worksheets.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes sense. And there's all different ways of doing the 4th step too. Tiff, you sent over that the inventory. I mean, there's books on it. That
came from SoberPod. That
inventory
came from SoberPod. So when you
SoberPod,
when you enroll in the SoberPod membership, they have I think it was like 4 or 5 different 4-step things, all different. When they worked the steps originally, when they in 2019,
yes.
They put all of their resources on a website. They have all sorts of resources there, but this particular one that I'm sharing with you that I sent to you guys was a 4-step inventory that Carl had put together.
Oh, okay. All right.
He found on a website.
Thank you, Carl.
And he put them all, housed them all in a nice little library.
I got to get on his website. I think I only been on it once on the.
I got to join.
I know.
But that 4-step inventory is very simple way to do your 4-step. If you really look at it, it tells you what it is on the first page. It gives you prompt sheets. So examples of people and institutions or principles. So when you asked that question about institutions, marriage, Bible, church, religion, authority, government, education system, correction system, principles would be a God or a deity or retribution, Jesus, Satan, death, hell, sin, adultery, the golden rule, all these different examples of what you can have. So it makes it real easy. Gives you inventory prompt sheets. So you save that for when you do your fear. And it tells you what to do. You read page 67, the last paragraph. You go through the first paragraph on page 68. You list all your fears, then write about each fear. Why has that failed you? Each fear. And these are all, the reason I like this exact one that I sent to you that I got from Carl is because it replicates the big book identically in its instructions. Because that was our original guide, and that original guide worked for the people that wrote it. And I don't think we should veer too far away from history. If it works, it works. So let's not change it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And this step is based around fear, right? Because now we're dredging up the past. We're figuring out what's wrong with us, and we might even figure out that we might be broken and can we be fixed, right? There's a lot of stuff in this, a lot of fearful stuff going on here. But again,
absolutely.
like we said, we have to do it fearless. And if you have any questions, if you're afraid, whatever it is, reach out to people. reach out to people and
Yeah, get their examples. What does it
Yeah.
look like?
yeah,
This is the fear prompt sheet so that you can have an idea in your head. And you can go through and either just circle or highlight all of the fears that you have.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to start.
there's a lot of
way to
fears
start.
on here. Fear of dying, fear of God, right? Fear of God, like, like if God ever finds out about this, maybe, he can't hear my thoughts. Well, yeah, my God can hear my thoughts, but yeah, you're right. All this fear inventory prompt sheet. It's really good. Fear of poverty, fear of races, fear of the unknown, fear of the
Fear of
unknown.
doctors. Think about if you're doing your resentment sheet right now or your inventory right now, Ed, and think of all the doctoring that you've been through over the last, several months. That's, you got to have some resentments and fears based around that. And so,
Oh yeah, it's
fear
funny.
of predators,
funny
fear of
you said that.
success.
It's funny you said that.
Go ahead.
No, again.
I just was reading another one. Fear of success.
No,
Go ahead.
the fear of doctors, right? I'm going to bring this up, right? And this is, I didn't even thought about this. I'm glad you talked about this. The fear of the doctors. Every time I was in, you guys know, most of you listeners know, and ladies here, you guys know, I was in a hospital for some stomach issues back in November. And every time the doctor walked in, right, I'm like, oh man, like, what is this guy going to tell me now? Like, all I want to fucking hear is I'm going home. That's all I want to hear. And if the fucking doctor didn't say you're not going home, I was pissed off. Right. I was pissed off. And then I started thinking, okay, well, he's here to help me or she's here to help me. Maybe I should listen to him. But still, I still had that resentment that he's keeping me here, right? He's keeping me here. She's keeping me here, right?
They only acted as I thought they should.
Yes. Exactly. if they listened to me, I'd be home dead by now.
I could say that to everything I do in life. If only they acted as Skylar thought. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Yeah.
It's always my
just would have got that script in the morning when they woke up.
Yeah.
Right?
The script that Skylar wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Don't you guys like it, and we have to always check ourselves in the 10 step and even with time, because there's times where you're like, you look at certain stuff and you see it and you're like, comparing stuff, like gossip, comparing stuff in the rooms, and we justify it like, oh, well, it's okay that they're going through that. Like, and it's a way we gossip and talk about people and justify it. And that's where we have to really be conscious of these behaviors and patterns, because we can have clean time and this all happens,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what we have to keep doing our steps over and over to identify this stuff.
I've gotten suicidal in recovery, doing this step, just because so much came up and I didn't know what was going on. And it was so this part of the step work is huge. And I don't think there should be so much fear around it.
No.
Because honestly, it's stuff we did to, I don't know. I feel like things done to me was easier to look at than me doing 8 and 9. I think was harder. Looking at how I hurt.
Yes, definitely. 8 and 9 it's definitely, those are the hardest.
So
steps.
this step was I can look at all the shit I did.
Yes.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
And it was healing. I like when we get into we should mention, we talk about what part was threatened. We talk about then where was I to blame? So we go through the step, we start reading, we make our list, and then we go back and review the list and we talk about where was I to blame? I talked to I did a 5th step with the girl just this week. I did 2 5th steps this week. And she said she's been through the program 3 times this year, 3 times within the last, it was 6 months. So this year, basically. Anyway, not one time had anybody had her focus on where she was to blame on all of these resentments.
Mm-hmm.
And it was eye-opening. You could just see her body just shift. And then I pointed out with the girl who I was working with, she couldn't understand what that meant. And I was like, all right, well, let's take a look at this. And individually, and this is where a sponsor comes in. Once again, we talk about sponsor. And you sit down and go through and the eyes there, they just light up, even though it's acceptance, right? There's a lot of acceptance during this step. It's also surrender and ridding. And oh my gosh, I get it now. I can see it from a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And that is, to me, was the most healing part, is doing that part. It wasn't
I had
even
a
so much
sponsor in
telling it to
Florida.
somebody
She
else.
added a column, and it was like, so if it was like an ex-boyfriend and he cheated on me, I had to put someone I had done that to. Like, you know, like
Oh yeah,
she made me see like how I'm just as human as the person that wronged
Yeah.
me, and you know what I mean?
right.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I liked her.
That's
That's
that's cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I get to you know, in our job, I get to go and see how kind of other treatment places operate. And this one center in particular, the retreat, is really good. And they just have they know how to build the community. And they were working together, these women, just like you said that your friend was saying, oh, I added this column so I could see where I did something exactly the same. And these are the things that happen when you build your community of support. And it's important in steps like this and continuing on through the rest of history. This, like we said, we keep saying over and over, this doesn't stop. This cleaning house does so much for us. It's getting rid of all the things that are blocking us from God. The whole point is to be one and stay connected with God.
Well, resentments are the number one reason why we go back out. Number one, and getting divorces and losing business partners, losing friendships. I mean, when you hold a resentment against somebody, it could kill your relationship. It could kill whatever, you know, and eventually it'll end up taking you down one way or the other. You become that miserable old man or old woman, you know, you see that, you know, in your neighborhood. Oh, there's the miserable old guy, you know, don't walk past his house. Well, I wonder what was going on in his life that he had resentments against.
Right.
And also, you know, in our business, in the alcoholics business, you know, we can really die from that. You know, we can go back out and we can do some major damage if we hang on to those resentments. And it's you know, it says from resentment stem all forms of spiritual disease, right? All spiritual disease. And real quick, I want to break down disease. My counselor always told me, so a guy who I work for, it's, if you break it down, it's dis-ease. Your body's at dis-ease. There's no calming, no nothing in your life when you have a disease. You're at dis-ease. There's no ease in your life, right? He explained that to me. But when you're lacking spiritual, you know, when you're lacking spirituality, that's even worse. Because then them resentments just start piling up. And I don't care how far in recovery you are. I don't care if you're day 1 or day 291 or 991. You start racking up those resentments. It's going to kill your spirituality. It's going to kill your spiritual being, and then you're going to become so basically a dry drunk. You're going to become you're going to become a person that when you look back from a day one, minus day one, when you're still drinking, you're gonna say, holy fuck, man, that's me. And I fall into that every once in a while. I do. I don't become a complete and total asshole, but like Tiff, like you said, don't be a dick, right? We can't fall into that don't be a dick syndrome, because that's where these resentments come in. Because if I'm being a dick and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, and you know, Tiffany says, oh, you can't say this today, I'm like, oh, fuck you, I can say whatever I want. I had this podcast before you. No, instead, if I'm working a good program and I'm cleaning house and I'm listening to everybody, what everybody's saying, I'm like, you know what, Tiff, you're right. I really shouldn't do it that way, because it's for the best for what we're doing. But if you don't look at it that, if you don't have that, you know, kind of that cleaning house and able to kind of understand what life is about, or even that spiritualness in your life, you're going to tell somebody to go fuck off, you know? And how many times
the importance of the 10 step, right? You know, continuing to do this on a daily basis.
You don't want to be a bag lady carrying, like, I'm a visual person, so I think of a bag lady carrying a bunch of shit, just a bunch of bags of resentment all around.
I got backpacks of shit.
Right? I'm just a bag lady. That's what I'm going to be with cats and two, you know? But the NA literature literally says, like, and I take this serious if the literature actually says something like this. It says, however, our experience as a fellowship has shown that sooner or later, members who do not work this crucial step relapse. They're directly saying it. Like, I take that very serious. And then there's 2 musts with step 4. We must be done with the past, not cling to it. And this is in the basic text. And assets must be considered if we are to get an accurate and complete picture of ourselves.
Read them again, Sky. Read them again.
So we must be done with the past, not cling to it.
Mm.
So that's one of the musts on page 28 in the basic text. And then assets must also be considered if we are to get an accurate and complete picture of ourselves.
Assets. Okay.
Because the way I started in NA, my sponsor first, before I even started writing the columns, I had to write down a list of all my assets and like do all that. So, and then started the columns.
Yeah. Well, how funny. That's how a business works too, right? Isn't how a business works?
What our strengths are, and then where we need to improve.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like Tiff said, we don't know what we're selling. If we're ordering 100 pounds of roast beef and we're only selling 2 pounds a week and we're ordering 100 pounds a week, we got to take an inventory, guys, and figure out what we're doing. And that's the same thing in life. If I'm going around saying shit and people wanting people to listen to me and this it's my way or the highway, right? Like we how it says and how it works, the producer, the director, to this, to that. And people aren't liking me because I'm a dick, right? I better do something about it, and also that step 10, if we don't take that daily inventory and we don't, admit it when we're wrong, promptly admit it, you might as well just throw that resentment right back into that bag and that bag keeps getting fucking heavier and heavier,
Yep.
There's this 12-step journal that I, when I was ordering on Amazon, came by accident, but it was in my early recovery. And again, one of the things that probably made it one of the biggest differences in my life, because you do that daily inventory every day in this journal. It asks you simple questions. And the reason I point this out during step 4, as we're talking about it, is because there is a weekly check-in at the end of it. That's your step 4, right? I'm going back, I'm recognizing what happened 4 out of 5 days where I was extremely tense, or I was not kind to people. What was going on during that time? How did this start? And then there's also a monthly review, like you would do for a business.
Retreat, yes. There's the spot check, but and it's great. I have my notebook too for the 10 step, and the best part about it is like you can't deny your own writing about what you wrote. Yeah. So I can't yes, sometimes it's hard to spot some of this stuff because my intentions and motives will be really good, and I really think it's going to work well if you just do it my way.
Just do it my way.
Right? Yeah. And I mean it so well. My intentions are so good, but I don't know everything, and that's where I need the sponsor and people in the fellowship that are kind of calling me out. And you know what I mean? And say, Skylar, we can do it this way. And I'm like, so you have to really be open-minded too in this step.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's a good story in the back of the big book, found on page 500 something, but freedom from bondage. But page 551 kind of addresses those, it addresses those big, deep-seated resentments. So it says, I've had many spiritual experiences since I've been in the program, many that I didn't recognize right away, for I'm slow to learn, and they may take on many guises. But one was so outstanding that I like to pass it on whenever I can, in the hope that it will help someone else as it has me. As I said earlier, self-pity and resentment were my constant companions. And my inventory began to look like a 33-year diary, for I seemed to have a resentment against everybody I had ever known. All but one responded to the treatment suggested in the steps immediately, but this one posed a problem. So this is addressing those deep-seated resentments, right? That you almost make your identity. This resentment was against my mother, and it was 25 years old. I had fed it, fanned it, and nurtured it as one might a delicate child. And it had become as much a part of me as my breathing. It had proved me with excuses for lack of education, my marital failures, my personal failures, inadequacy, and of course, my alcoholism. And though I really thought I had been willing to part with it, now I knew I was reluctant to let it go. One morning, however, I realized I had to get rid of it, for my reprieve was running out. And if I didn't get rid of it, I was going to get drunk. Like you said, Sky, this is when they say I'm going to get drunk, the book tells me I'm going to get drunk. So
doesn't say that much in the book. So that, I take
No.
that serious.
I take it serious too. And
Yeah.
so what it points out, to go on further in the story, and you guys can read it. Again, it's called Freedom from Bondage, is how to get rid of those deep-seated resentments, those ones that don't just go away when you put them on paper and you pray about it and do your
Back
fifth
in that
step.
page where you're at, isn't
Mhm.
there a paragraph? When I did the steps in AA, I had, maybe it's like 551, something like that. There's a paragraph, and you read it for 2 weeks and you pray for somebody.
Yeah, it says, one morning, however, I had to get rid of it. During the day, a friend of mine brought me some magazines. I looked at them. A banner across one featured the word resentment. He said, in effect, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, if you will pray for the person, the one thing that you resent, you will be free. If you will ask in prayer for everything you want for yourself to be given to them, you will be free. Ask for their health, their prosperity, their happiness, and you will be free. Even when you don't really want it for them and your prayers are only words and you don't mean it, go ahead and do it anyway, and do it every day for 2 weeks.
Yep, I had to do. Yep,
Make it till you make it, guys. You know, and
exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's just beyond my like it works. What that paragraph you just read, it works. When you pray for somebody, it releases yourself. It really does. You know,
remember that poem I read, or that prayer I read to you guys last week? That just like me, that's where this came from. That when I was doing my 4-step, that deep-seated resentment. And because I'm not giving, if we weren't live, I'd maybe say more about it. But anyway, I was holding a very, very, very deep resentment, and I couldn't let it go. And that's where that you pray, just like me, Sky is seeking some happiness for her life. Just like me, Sky is trying to avoid suffering in her life. Just like me, Sky has known sadness, loneliness, and despair. Just like me, Sky is seeking to fulfill her needs. And just like me, Sky is learning about life. So it's putting that person that you're praying about in a likeness of you.
Exactly.
Again, not justifying their behavior.
Oh yeah, no.
But just getting rid of the resentment that you're holding on to. And after the 2 weeks, and I don't care if you have to do it for 2 months. Sometimes you have to.
Yep.
And sometimes that prayer might start out with the name son of a bitch in place of it, right? I hope that son of a bitch, I pray that son of a bitch gets everything he deserves, right? You might be saying that. But in the end, you know, you don't want to hang on to that, because like the book says, you will drink, you will drug. So get rid of it.
Completely miserable in your life. I had a similar situation. I had a business partner way back when, and he was a real asshole. He just was. It was just no other way around it. And my wife was involved with the business too. And I always said, when that motherfucker dies, I'm gonna go piss on his grave. I'm gonna go stand up on the coffin and piss on his face and fuck him and blah blah blah. And I held on to that. And this was in recovery. And I held on to that resentment for a long time. And I was angry at the time too. You know, business was, you know, anyways, it was a long story, but he ended up dying, right? And I was like, oof, do I put my money where my mouth is? Or do I just pray for him, right? And I prayed for him, and it all just let go, you know? And again, I haven't thought of this guy in a long time, but when I heard he died, and he didn't die in a nice way, he OD'd, unfortunately. Yeah, it's sad. But you
bring up a good point.
Yeah.
Because we think about when we were drinking and drugging, Ed, where every morning I would wake up and replay that reel, right? Here's my reel. I'm mad at this person. This person did this to me, replaying all those conversations. If it would have went this way, I would do this. When it goes that way next time, you know, I'm going to do this, you know, and replaying
imaginary.
Yes. All day. This would consume my whole day thinking about crap like that.
Well, fuck. Think about the time when somebody cut you off and you're pissed off at them all day. Like you don't even know who the fuck they are, right? Yeah, to drink at somebody. Exactly. Yes, you're right. And that's so sad, because that person, first of all, didn't wake up and say, I'm gonna go cut Ed off and get him pissed off all day. I can't wait to take a shower and get going. I'm gonna go cut that motherfucker off. No, they didn't do that, right? That's in my head. That's what I think, right? And when they cut me off, I just gotta let it go. It's hard, but I just gotta let it go. And there are times I'm driving, I'm like gripping onto that steering wheel. That motherfucker cut me off on purpose. He couldn't wait one car. He see I was up in front of him, and like Sky said, it's all about me. It's all about like my way or the highway. I'm right here. Nobody else is, right?
Self-centered, self-seeking.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I didn't get what that meant like when I came around. That's why like people explaining it like that way, like the director's story really helped me understand what the whole concept of was. Like
Right.
these things just really, I turned 24 in Gen.esis house when I got clean. So I got clean young, but like these things were just not comprehensible for my little brain, my immature brain. Like I'm like 11 years old coming in, really, like almost mentally.
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand these concepts. They're like adult, like being big girl shit. This is big girl shit right here.
Yeah.
Like, really big. Feelings. We're talking about feelings, guilt, shame, like, and then these resentments. Like, so this is heavy stuff. But honestly, I think that mostly I just put it off. As soon as my sponsor's like, you know what, we're going over this on Sunday. I was like, all right. And I just sat and wrote it real quick. And not real quick because I had a lot, but it got me moving. So I feel like a time frame is very important too.
I do too.
Because we'll sit on it. We will.
So
When
I work with people who can't get going, I tell them at least 10 minutes a day. Just 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Start with 10 and then you'll go from there, but at least 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another thing, a tool that I used, of course, it wasn't from me. It was given to me from God knows where. You make a timeline of your life. So on the timeline, on the line, right? You write all the dashes of where the homes you lived in, because that will jar your memory to go back to those places.
Yeah.
Well, this step,
Schools
oh my
you
God.
went to.
It's stuff just comes in. Like I'll be when I was working the step, like, and even right now while I'm doing it, like I'll be driving. I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to forget that. And like I real quick, I like try to write my text. So I don't forget. Cause when you work the step, a lot comes up and you're right. Your memory is just jarred. Like,
your memory is jarred. So just to have established that timeline of when you were born to today, and then write all the homes you lived in, write all the schools that you went to. And then your memory will start coming. That's why we say be thorough.
Yes.
So that you don't forget, because those things are still in your brain. You got to get them out.
Pull them out. And Christy H just asked, she said she's stuck on her fourth step and, she wants to, she's stuck and she asked about the sheet. Where can she find the 4-step sheet?
I think me and Christy should do an accountability check-in because I'm stuck on mine a little bit. So maybe me and Christy should text each other every day.
You can pair Christy up. All right.
I'm just going to call it out. Let me just call myself on right
That's how you do it.
I can't take it back. Damn it.
You're going to get those, but you can
Carl,
get those.
Can you edit this out?
Sheets on SoberPod. You can get those sheets on SoberPod.
Yes.
It does cost, you have to join a membership, which is $2.
$2 a month.
$2. But when you get on the membership, you can find those inventory sheets if you're wondering about the ones that we're talking about. So soberpod.com, you can go find those inventory sheets. Otherwise, you can work with Sky, and Sky will help you, Christy.
Christy, call Sky. Yes.
That's and I like to
send an email to help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com with your phone number, and Sky will call you.
He will call you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, this is really good stuff. I know we can kind of keep going and going and going. We do have a lot to talk about. Yeah, we do. We have a lot to talk about. Next week, I'm actually looking forward to next week with Jeff because I mean, I have some trauma in my life. It's not the big T like everybody thinks. So I'm wondering how to get through this stuff because listen, when you write stuff down and you bring up the past, it's bringing trauma up. It's bringing problems up. It's reopening wounds, So I'd like to know from, and guys, please stay tuned. Catch the show next week also when Jeff is going to explain how we can get around all that.
Your own trauma or through trauma.
Yeah.
And this is why I feel like the 12 steps are great for anybody.
Yeah.
Like anybody.
Yeah.
I see my Aunt Kathy is from Pittsburgh is in here right now. And I love seeing that. But I just feel like the 12 steps, we all can apply some of this stuff. Like, who doesn't need to take an inventory of their life
Yeah.
and check and clean house? Like, so this step is just super awesome. I just think
I love it's
gave me
all
so much
filled with
insight.
prayer. The 4th step, we don't often talk about it, but it's all filled with prayer.
Mhm.
And so those are all over in, how to pray to get through our fears, pray to get through our resentments, pray to get through each of these. And I love it. It's all centered around, it's God centered.
Yes.
Well, here, this is also the 4-step builds grit in our life too, because now, like I said, we have to dig deep into the things that might trigger some trauma responses, that might trigger some uneasy feelings, some things that we don't even want to think about. But that's how we grow, guys, is when we bring this stuff up and get rid of it. Then we grow through that pain. We grow through all that stuff to become a better person. Number 1, so we don't do it again. Number 2, so we don't do it to anybody else. And number 3, if somebody's seeking for our help, we've been through it and we can honestly talk to them about it now. Because there's some topics that come up, guys, sometimes that I don't want to talk about because it hurts me, right? But again, this is, Scott, you said before, it's not all about me. What if this person is really hurting and needs to talk about it, and I'm not equipped to talk to them about it because I wasn't rigorously honest. I didn't do a fearless search and moral inventory of myself. Now my sponsee's coming to me and I can't talk about that topic. That's another way that this step also works. So we'll get more into that with Jeff and everybody. Ladies, do you have anything in closing? Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody in the Facebook Live. It went pretty well. I wasn't staring at it the whole time, but I did glance over. So I looked
at it later. I'm like, oh, Vinny. I'm like, Stacy, Christy. I'm like looking up. I
know. It's fun. It's different. Well,
it definitely is, but it's
guys,
cool.
Yeah, thank you guys. And I hope you guys got something out of it, right? But before we close, anything out of
They're home, I guess.
Yeah, they're home. He's home from the diner. He's trying to come in now. Do you ladies have anything that you want to add before we close, or say before we close?
No, this was great. I know we have a lot more to talk about, and we can I can't wait till we get personal.
Yeah. That's 2 weeks,
paint
guys,
that picture, that life we want. We got to blank canvas in this step. Let's paint the life we want and create, get all the exterior that we think we are.
Get
lots of courage.
Guys. Get the shit out. That's it. That's it. So
take off the
courage to get vulnerable.
Yes, courage. Yeah. Guys, before we go again, I want to just say SoberPod. We did bring up SoberPod a lot on here, and I know we bust on them every once in a while. But like Tiffany said, go to their members page, donate the $2, and get all this good stuff out of here. Soberpod.com. Carl's a wonderful, wonderful man. I talk to him almost daily. He's one of us, and listen to Soberpod, guys. And Chelsea also, she's over there. They have an amazing podcast. I'd rank it right up there, maybe 28, maybe, right? Maybe it's tied 27 with us, but they have a great podcast. And Joe S, I want to thank you for helping us get these Facebook Live stuff up. I called them all in a panic this morning. It's not working. I'm like, you know how to do this shit. He's like, probably like, what the fuck is this guy doing? It's fucking 9 o'clock in the morning. What he's calling me for? But Joe from Dayton Strong Recovery 101. Listen to them, guys. Really good podcast. He does kind of short blurbs at night. He's on YouTube. So give Joe a listen too. Besides that, step 4, if you guys have any questions on step 4, get a hold of us. We'll answer it the best we could. We're going through this too, even though we have all these years, we're still going through it, and we'll help as best as we could. And if you have any suggestions for us, email us, help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. We are always open to listen and learn, 100% hands down. We've been learning this. I mean, we all have pretty good recovery here, but when Skylar shared yesterday in a meeting that she was really studying, I'm like, oh fuck, good. At least I'm not the only one that doesn't fucking know this shit. So we're always open to learn. So thank you guys for everything. I will see you all next week, and stay sober, everybody.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.